¿Qué tal amigos? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos una vez más. El día de hoy tenemos a la leyenda de Jiho, que bueno, es básicamente el fundador de Axie Infinity. Vamos a estar platicando de el juego, de lo que es y de lo que se viene. Y bueno, tenemos aquí invitado especial también a Santi, que nos va a estar ayudando con la entrevista. Y bueno, te lo dejo para que arranques, mi San.
Awesome, Jiho. Thank you, Mateo, as well. So, Jiho, first of all, thank you so much for being here, man. We appreciate your time. This is awesome. And the first question is for the audience to get to know you better. So, can you tell them who is Jiho and how did he get into crypto?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jiho. I'm a co-founder of Sky Mavis. We're the creators of Axie Infinity. Yeah, I grew up collecting insects like butterflies, beetles, all kinds of things like that with my father. Also fossils. So I was always collecting things as a kid. And I'm half Korean, so Koreans, we love video games, and so my cousins, they were always introducing me to new games. Like when I was a kid, like StarCraft. Like I remember I played StarCraft before Brood War, right? That's kind of how I got introduced to the internet. Diablo, that taught me how to type, right? Like I was in a top World of Warcraft guild, that taught me a lot about like life and working with others on a team. And also, like, I learned that you could actually make money by playing video games, but also that it was really hard and that, game companies were trying to kind of stop you and prevent that from happening. So yeah, like I lived my life for a long time without crypto. I only just, I knew about Bitcoin in 2011, something like that, but it was not that interesting to me because it was just kind of financial and about money. But then when I found out about NFTs, actually through CryptoKitties, I thought, hey, this is a part of crypto that I think can be more accessible to everyday people, to gamers, to collectors, to people who are into art. So I got really excited about NFTs. I thought that, I knew that crypto would actually change the world. It was just, I was kind of just a passive observer. But then when I saw about NFTs, NFT games, I was like, okay, like this is something that I think fits with all my interests perfectly. So I kind of jumped in really, in 2017 even, and started trying to learn as much as possible about NFTs, meeting a lot of different people. And then I actually found Axie, right, when it was just getting started. And I started out as a community member. I bought 3 Axies and then said, okay, like, how can I help? How can I help build this project alongside the rest of the community? Yeah, it's been an amazing adventure since then.
Oh, that's an amazing story. I love what you specifically said about being passive at first, and then when you found what you liked and fitted with you, you got involved and even more hyped about it, I probably think. So that's amazing. I definitely tell the community to do similar stuff and just try to be more involved, just not holding. And really great is story that you told us. I wanted to ask you, how did Mavis came to be? Did it was created from you getting into like NFTs to Mavis? How did it start?
Sure. Yeah, so it was kind of a journey, right? So the original founders of Axie Infinity are Masamune and Trung. That's kind of how it's spelled. And they're from Vietnam. And I had, known Trung a little bit from CryptoKitties. So when I found Axie and we started to get more close, I kind of moved to Vietnam to work together. And I think, right, like in the early days, we saw, hey, like we have the potential to do something really special, even beyond gaming, where, right, we're introducing people to Web3. We're building something that's fun, that's relatable to the world. We have a chance to do something really special. So Sky Mavis was kind of born out of the fact that, okay, like, hey, we also need to build things like Ronin, right? Like infrastructure tools that can enable the next generation of developers that are going through the journey like us, right? Like when we started building Axie, there were a lot of things that we needed to build for the first time that didn't exist. We didn't want to have other developers have to go through those pains and those struggles. So we also, right, like that's the idea behind Ronin, right? Is okay, like the next generation of NFT game developers, they'll be able to use this awesome infrastructure that we've built to help grow their products and make them super successful. So the Sky Mavis is around 106 people right now. We have like teammates from all over the world. It's been an amazing journey, and people are working so hard. Like it's a culture where I think, people never leave Sky Mavis. Like I think the only time anyone has ever left is really because like they had to go back to school or college or something like that, where people love working on our mission. So yeah.
Is it like open source? Like, how does it work? Is it like a DAO, like where anyone can work, or how does it work?
Sure. So Sky Mavis is a company, and I see it as we're kind of like the stewards or the people like taking care of the Axie ecosystem, right? Eventually, we want Axie to kind of form into more of a community-driven DAO. The first step is to decentralize the ownership. That's why we have the Axis token. And the community is already building like amazing stuff, right? We have the builders program. There, over 1,500 applications for that. A bunch of really awesome experiences like tower defense and racing games and even like MOBAs, kind of like Tamagotchi-like experiences, right? So the community is already starting to help kind of build alongside us. Of course, the number one thing that they've done so far is around like the content creation, onboarding people, education. Definitely this kind of decentralized structure is starting to emerge. We have to be careful, right? Like there's a difference between like co-creation, co-ownership, and also co-management. Co-management, right? It can actually make you go slower in some ways. So we have to have like a good middle ground or a balance.
Definitely.
Awesome. So for the people that don't know, Axie Infinity is the #1 blockchain game up to date by far. And can you tell us, or what do you think is something that Axie Infinity did to be at the top right now? And can you maybe get into details on how much you guys made last year or sold in crypto?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of the question again?
Yeah, so what do you think is something that Axie Infinity did different to everyone else to be at the top right now?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of factors, right? Where we were super early, like we started building Axie, we just early in 2018, we just celebrated our 4th birthday, right? Also, I think like the Axie art is just unique and it's special. It kind of like crypto is such a new and sometimes scary concept, but Axie, it looks nostalgic, right? It reminds people of Pokemon. So it's kind of like, right, it's a classic thing with a twist where we're just adding in this new layer of blockchain technology. I think that's really, really important. Also, right, like we were building through the bear market. So there are a lot of people in the community that take like a really long-term view. And regardless of like market conditions and volatility, right, they're going to be there kind of building and supporting the project. Whereas, I think projects that started this year, right, they have a lot of kind of catching up to do on the infrastructure side, on the tech side, and the community, right, like it's kind of hard, you're attracting people who are kind of used to more of like a bull market, right? So that they're not necessarily thinking like super long term. I think, and then just, we take, I think like also like we take a very product oriented approach to crypto where we're not thinking like as crypto developers, we're not thinking as game developers, we're thinking as like product people where we're focused on making small things that work and then iterating and improving them over time.
What was there a target audience when you were thinking about Axie, like young, like older, teenagers, or I know it's big in Philippines as well, maybe countries? Did you focus on anything specific?
Sure. So I think the awesome thing about Axie is that it appeals to such a broad group of people, right? Like it looks cute, so it can kind of appeal to a certain audience, but there's that competitive battling aspect, right? So they can also appeal to like kind of hardcore gamers. And yeah, like obviously, the earning aspect, it appeals to people in nations and developing countries where the wage is low. The collecting, right? Certain Axies are super rare, right? So that also appeals to people who, spend tens of thousands of dollars on like Pokemon cards and Magic cards. So I think like the strength of Axie is that it appeals to a really wide demographic. I'll also say that, right, like there are more women in the Axie community than in other crypto communities. And I think that's one of our strengths. Like we have more of a balanced dynamic where it's not just all like kind of a certain type of energy. It's like more diverse and broad and beautiful.
Do you think the Asian market is your most important one?
I don't want to say like any market is the most important. Like I think we need all of them to be
the largest.
successful. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously the Philippines is around 40% of our players right now. So it's definitely, Asia combines in the majority of our players, but it gets a little bit more different where, right, a lot of the kind of capital is coming also from like, people in like kind of like G20 countries.
Yeah. Nice.
That's crazy. My question here, so this is more for people in Mexico so they can understand a little more. We know that you can make some money from Axie Infinity. In Mexico, the minimum wage is about less than $10 a day, around $9. How much can you make if you're a good player in Axie Infinity?
Sure.
About how much? It doesn't have to be.
I think like as a pretty good player, depends on how many Axies you have, right? So I think like, somewhere around 200 to 300 SLP is possible. So I think like, $4 to $5 is possible. Like I don't want to guarantee anything. Obviously, like people should be playing Axie if they think the community is awesome. They want to learn about Web3. The earnings should be like kind of an extra benefit. But it shouldn't be like the only motivation. To be honest, there are less complicated ways to make money in the world, in my opinion. So you should do it if you want to, make friends, you want to learn, you want to, get started with the new technology. But that said, yeah, I think like, $3 to $5 for a super good player right now is, I think, is possible. And then obviously, right, if you're a super good player, you can go on the leaderboard, you can win access, you can join tournaments. So that also unlocks a lot of, ways to potentially, kind of win some prizes.
Nice.
Awesome.
How do you see the gaming sector right now, the crypto gaming sector right now? Do you think what will be new trends? Do you think there's innovation currently, or is it everything's like copy paste, some similar to DeFi a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you see with any sector, you see like periods of rapid innovation, and then the things will kind of like level out and stall for a bit and waiting for the next kind of like transformation. So yeah, it's hard for me to judge the entire space as a whole. I would like to see like new concepts and things that have never been done before. A lot of them tried. I think there are some projects that are doing it. But yeah, I think like as the industry leader, sometimes we have to take responsibility as well to be the one that are pushing the space forward. So I think like right now, everyone is super excited for the launch of Axie Infinity Origin, which is kind of like the third version or third upgrade to our battle system that's ever been released. We're hoping that will come in Q1. So maybe, by the end of March. And this will, right, like get Axie acquainted and distributed to an entirely new audience, right? You'll be able to start with three free starter Axies. So you won't have to actually go through crypto onboarding, getting a wallet, buying cryptocurrency, buying Axies. You won't actually have to go through that process. You'll be able to just get started, see if you think that the game is fun, the community is fun, before kind of going down the rabbit hole.
Are you focusing big on mobile?
I think mobile is really, mobile gaming is actually the largest market, right? So if you want something that can be as big as possible, like I think mobile is super important, right? We're even seeing, right, like Fortnite and League, like, they came out with a mobile strategy, even though those games weren't originally conceived as mobile first. Origin, right, is kind of conceived as mobile first. A lot of our experience as well. I think that's one of our strengths, is that most of the people in the world, a lot of them, they don't have computers, but they'll have an Android phone, right? So if your experience is accessible from an Android device, that massively increases the number of people that can enjoy your product.
Nice.
Awesome. So Sky Mavis right now only has Axie Infinity. Are you guys planning to make new games in the next few years, maybe 1-2 years? And what would you do different from Axie Infinity? Like maybe no utility token and just reward the players with NFT drops, or what do you think you would do?
Sure. I mean, so we went through, you know, for the first couple of years of Axies, there were no tokens. And, you know, one of the biggest things that people kept asking is like, they wanted to earn, rather than earning experience points, they said, oh, like, you want this to be a token. That's where kind of the concept for SLP emerged as well. So yeah, like in terms of like what I do differently, like, I don't know, it's hard to say. Like if you change one thing, who knows what would have happened. I think we've executed pretty well so far. I think like, yeah, maybe more focus on education too. I think that's one of the big things that we want to do is like, okay, right now, like you learn a lot just by doing it, but I think we can also do more, right? Like, I think we should have like a course about blockchain technology. I think we should be giving diplomas to people who, you know, kind of advance and complete a bunch of different actions. And I think really like Axie can be like a school, right? Like a university for learning about this technology.
100%. And that's actually the reason why we call them scholars, right? Because it's
exactly,
like,
that's the original reason that we call them scholars, is like you're learning, right? Like it's really about education.
How do you see Axie in 5 to 10 years? I've given it a thought, maybe like put on some VR goggles and ride your Axie in the metaverse or something, like a dragon.
So yeah, in the future, I think, you know, I see the core experiences like the battles, the land, right, getting massively upgraded, and it's super fun. But also, I think it's going to be really important for us to have like many different games and mini games and experiences that are built outside of Sky Mavis and built by the community. We see how successful this model is with Roblox, right? This can work, but with Web3, where the community actually owns the game, like I think it can be like 10x bigger.
Mm-hmm. Is that your plan with Ronin, so people can use that infrastructure to deploy games?
Definitely, yeah. Like, you know, we think that this is going to be a huge industry, and we want to be the go-to solution for the infrastructure around building the next generation of amazing NFT-powered games. In the future, in the beginning, I think we'll have to be like a little bit more selective about who we let on, because even the blockchain, you know, there's still limited space. And then if there's so many projects, right, you start to have like, becomes expensive, and like transactions get dropped, and you start to run into a lot of the issues that we built Ronin for in the first place as well. So like we should keep upgrading Ronin as well to ensure that, yeah, we can have like a bunch of different projects running on it simultaneously.
Do you have any plans for no code tools to build games?
I think, yeah, things like map editor, right? Like they really democratize game development and things like that. So I would say that that's quite likely that we'll have something like that.
Sure, that's amazing. I'm definitely excited to see the rise of the Ronin ecosystem in the gaming industry. And I wanted to ask you, talking about the gaming industry, what do you think about Microsoft acquiring these gaming companies recently? Do you think big companies are gonna come hard into the crypto gaming space?
And is that a threat for you, for Axie?
Yeah, I think so. The acquisition is definitely confirmation that, you know, gaming is going to become really much bigger in the future. And I think that Microsoft also said, right, that they're interested in kind of like the metaverse, right, and what that means. So yeah, I think, you know, but what we see historically is that, right, like Supercell was not a console game maker, a PC game maker, right? They were mobile first, and they became number one just because they had the most experience. They were early when everyone was making fun of like free to play mobile games. Supercell was like doubling down on it and learning, right? And they became the industry leader. There's always a new winner from like a startup when a new type of game comes, it's not like the old games, right? Kind of shift immediately, right? What happens is the old incumbent companies, kind of like the boomer companies, they'll like, right, they'll observe what the smaller ones are doing. They'll take certain elements and incorporate it. But they're not, yeah, they're usually, right, they have too much to lose, right? Like they're too risk averse to really kind of embrace it quickly, right? Also, they have reasons to be risk averse, right? Because like if you have, let's say, 20 million users and 40% of them hate NFTs, and even if 60% are into it, right? Like some people will say, oh, like I don't want to alienate 40% of my user base or whatever, right? So they have, the math kind of like will trick them into, right, not investing quick enough and pivoting into NFT stuff quick enough. But that's, that's just the innovator's dilemma that we see quite often. But yeah, I think like they're exploring, right? They're exploring, they're getting educated, but there's huge bureaucracies at these companies where they cannot move fast. Like, they're not built to move that way. So yeah, like I think actually like the more interesting threat is from like Facebook, right? Like Meta, because Zuckerberg is still kind of in control, so he can just make the decisions. Like, okay, we're pivoting into like metaverse and NFTs, right? Like he doesn't have to like talk to like all of his different teammates and stuff like that. So I think like, yeah, Meta is definitely something to look out for. And but I think, yeah, like we have a advantage in being small kind of and scrappy and agile.
Definitely. Well, I don't know if you, Santi, have more questions, but I think we don't want to take any more time of you. So we really appreciate it. Maybe we can close with this question: if people can expect some surprises or upgrades. You already mentioned the release of the third upgrade. What can we expect 2022? Anything you're excited about?
Well, yeah, I'm super excited about Origin. Like, I think it's going to be a massive upgrade. I don't think people are ready. Like, it should be really awesome. Yeah, I'm also excited. Like I think 2022 is like 2021. We were growing the community. We were growing the team. 2022, we're going to start to see, right? Like we went from 38 team members at Sky Mavis to now over 100, and we're gonna start to see like the increased leverage and output of that larger team really start to manifest and show its effect in 2022. I think also like there's a chance that 2022 is also, right, like a time, okay, like we need things to calm down. We're just gonna keep upgrading the core experience and keep building. Maybe the market is gonna cool off. It seemed like, right, like kind of things have been calming down recently, and so it might be a little bit less hectic actually from 2021, and maybe the environment just to kind of think long term and keep really building.
Time to build. Well, thank you for your time. We really had some fun. You really gave us some good knowledge, and well, if you ever come to Mexico City, you have a home here. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, I would love to come. I love Mexico. And yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jiho's Mexican community is going to be super thankful with you, and they're going to love this video. Thank you for your time.
Bye bye.
Gracias. Te amo, México.